What is up, guys? It's your boy obbldude. Today we're gonna be doing a massive grind, or at least I will be. Um, so we're doing a 700 PED hunting run, low-level hunting run, and we're doing this for a few reasons. Number one, I want to see how far 700 PED can get me, doing a lower level hunt like this. And this could be pretty beneficial for both low level and probably mid level too, just because with the skill increase, your efficiency will probably be a lot better, so you might be able to do some decent stuff anyway. But there's a few things I'm going for. Number one, we're going for the tier 2 components, which is one of our markup items that we go for when it comes for the fowls. And then we're going for the paint cans, and we're also going for the twin tokens. Now, another goal of mine for this video and for this massive run is I'm trying to see how much I can not only cycle in general. So like when we cycle, oh nice, that was a good hit. As we're cycling, I'm curious to see how long it'll take to cycle through all this 700 ped. So we're not just doing 700 ped and then calling it. We're gonna keep cycling the ped, whether that's shrapnel or if we get enough stacked up to sell an auction. Either way, we're gonna try to cycle through as much as possible. So this is probably going to take a while. But one of the other things we're going for is twin tokens, and more importantly, trying to figure out how much PED and how long it would take at this level to try to grind out, let's say, 20,000 twin tokens. Enough tokens to get a somewhat decent low-level gun from the token trader. So, my hypothesis when it comes to this, and we'll see how it kind of plays out as long as we don't run into too many of these guys because it's waste ped. But I want to see how long and how much ped it would take to realistically possibly. Oh wow, that was actually a good hit. We didn't actually waste anything on that one. Nice, I like it. Um, so we're gonna see how long it'll take us to possibly get to 20,000 twin tokens. Now, my hypothesis for this is probably instead of 700 ped, I would say probably closer to 7,000 ped, and then cycling through that, doing what I'm doing. Yeah, that might end up being the case as far as just the twin token part. But I also want to see how profitable this can be or how much we can lose and see how much markup items we get versus non-markup. So that's pretty much what we're doing here in this video. So I'm just gonna sit back, grind out. We're gonna talk about some stuff. This might either be a standalone video or there might be a part two, depending on how much there is. But we're gonna see if we can hit some milestones too. Like once we get through the initial 700 ped in ammo, then we can kind of see like how much we got right there, and then compare that to longer in the grind where um, once we maybe cycle through, let's say, I don't know, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 ped, we'll see if we're losing any, gaining anything versus like markup or TT and things like that. So there's a lot to kind of discover in this run right here. Now, this is kind of what I do when I try to figure stuff out, see if there's another strategy I can be doing, or in the long term, if something can be more profitable than I think, or maybe less profitable. It's basically all trying to figure out if this is worthwhile long term. But I'm really trying to see how much twin tokens I can get. That would be ideal. And right now we haven't gotten any yet, but sometimes it takes a little bit. And in this video too, we're going to just be talking about random stuff, random Entropia stuff, some ranting and stuff too, as well as focusing on the run. So this might just be the standalone video, or there might be a second part. I'm not sure which one it's going to be yet, but yeah. the only thing about coming here and hunting is that you get like a huge, like, sometimes you'll get a bunch of aggro from a bunch of them. That's why I come here with armor usually, just because, one on one it's fine, but if I get like four or five of them, I just want to try to survive at that point. But yeah, ultimately, I just want to test out if we just keep grinding and grinding, what kind of loot can we get if we play way below our level? Or not way below, but pretty good below the level, I would say. And these are fun to hunt too. I mean, if you've never taken down a whole bunch of fowls, they're pretty fun to take down because they got good stuff. Um, even this stuff right here, where is it? Even the high-speed controllers, I mean, even those go for a decent markup. They just don't drop a whole lot, or at least not as much as like the tier 2s or some of the other stuff like the paint cans. And it's a fun challenge to try to complete with the Codex too, because like with how many fouls there are here, you'll run through the challenge pretty quick, I would say. And I mean, even still, like once we get through this run, our Codex is going to be probably pretty high, even with it being at about 12. But I would say under 15 is pretty easy as far as Codex anyway. It goes up pretty quickly. I mean, every few mobs we're going up at least 1%. So we'll be getting a lot of skills from this, a lot of Codex from this, and hopefully, if we're lucky, a lot of PED from this. And I mean, our average loot from these fouls as well, based on my skills, the equipment that I'm running, the amount of PED that I'm spending per shot, I'm able to pull out about, on average, 25 to 30 peck, I would say, on average. Obviously, some being more, some being a lot less. And one reason why I want to try to break this up too is just because I try not to cut out a whole bunch when it comes to Entropia, just because, if we do get a decent profit or we have a good run, um, number one, I want you guys to be able to see the majority of it. That way you can kind of see like, okay, that most likely happened. Because then easily I could just kind of try to pull some funny stuff, which I wouldn't want to do. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can, but um, I like to give you guys a good idea on what my averages are. That way you can kind of get an idea on what your averages could possibly be in certain runs, whether it's hunting and mining. But for this, I mean, honestly, depending on what happens, I'm expecting we might be doing this for like 6 hours. Like maybe more, I don't know, maybe less, hopefully a little less. I don't know. But if it takes a long time to cycle this much, that's kind of a good thing though, because you want to be able to cycle as much as possible at the lowest cost possible, while at the same time getting your markup stuff and stretching a good amount of ped or even a little amount of ped as far as possible. Like for a run like this with how low level this is, I mean 700 ped is so much ped. Like it's almost kind of well, I don't want to say overkill because I feel like it can never really be overkill when it comes to Entropia and like I don't know, getting a bunch of ammo. But I mean, this is a lot for this level. Um, if I was doing regular hunting, I mean, it would still be a decent amount for my higher level stuff, if I was like hunting closer to 20. Um, but the returns might not be as good, and we wouldn't be able to cycle through nearly as much. So I'm really putting this cycling strategy slash theory slash fact um, into practice. and not only into practice, but testing it out and seeing how it works out for us. Because honestly, I feel like what I'm doing right now is like the basic intent of the game, right? Um, is just being able to kill as many mobs as you can without breaking the bank within 20 minutes or so. You know, I mean, I feel like the idea is you want to be going for hours and hours and being able to cycle it and get a good, or at least your money back to some extent, or almost money back, versus doing shorter runs killing less mobs. And honestly, it's kind of more fun this way because you get more playtime out of it. It feels more like a grind, um, you know. And when you're doing it lower level like this, sometimes not so much with mining, but with hunting, I feel like it's a little easier. Is that you don't gotta kind of worry about mitigating losses at this point, because at this point you're almost running at the maximum efficiency that you're gonna be running at. Um, Oh, and one thing I did forget to mention too, it does help us that our weapon that we're using is about almost 62% efficiency, which isn't like crazy good, but it's not bad. Ideally, the rule of thumb is you want your weapon or whatever equipment you're using, if it has an efficiency percentage like that, ideally you want it around 60%. Um, that's going to give you, like at 60%, that's going to give you the lowest amount of efficiency that you should run in order to try to get back the most that you can out of your investment. Because anything less than 60, you're running below that 55% and you're in what I call casino territory. Because, like, I think blackjack, I think odds are like 45%, maybe close to 50. So at between 55 to 58%, I mean, you're still, the efficiency is still kind of lacking, but if you're at least at 60, you can have some opportunity to get back most of what you spend sometimes. And then obviously the higher efficiency, the better. Like if you like at the twin token trader, for example, it's like 20,000 tokens, um, twin tokens for a specific rifle, I think. And it's a pretty low level rifle, but still better than like any low level gun you'll find on auction or otherwise. And if you did find one, it would be probably close to 10,000 PED, roughly, maybe thousands of PED at the very least. Um, but that efficiency is about 75%, which still isn't crazy to me. To me, the crazy efficiency percentages are like 90%, 93%. I think I've seen a rifle even for almost at like 95%, I want to say. I want to say 95% efficiency is probably the max efficiency gun that you could probably ever get. But still, 75, I mean, you're chilling. I mean, compared to what I'm running now, if I somehow got 20,000 twin tokens and I was able to get that rifle at least, even at 75% efficiency, we would probably close to double what we end up averaging, I would say. Probably close to double. And that weapon, I forget the specs and I forget the damage, so it might be a little overkill for these guys. You might want to go for, I mean, I don't know. I feel like anything above Foul Young, the loot's not quite as good. But still, I mean, running something like that with 75% efficiency, that alone can be game changing. I mean, crap, even having a gun at 60, 61, 62% can actually be game changing compared to like 55 to 58%. But 75%, that's even more game changing. So it's like so it's like it can get crazy with efficiency, and that's really the name of the game is the efficiency. Efficiency of weapon, of ammo burn, and then what you're going to get at the same time. And decay too is involved as well. But that's the thing though, when it comes to loot, when it comes to certain mobs and loot, I've noticed that it doesn't really matter what mob. you're killing. Because it really comes down to maturity levels, from what I've noticed. You can have some mobs like the foul youngs, for example, where the youngs drop great loot, good markup, awesome loot. But since they're lower level mobs, it takes more to build up that loot versus if they were higher level and dropped more at once. So when it comes to like foul youngs, the loot's insane. But I've also fought like the higher maturity fouls. I forget, they're like maybe the matures. Whichever ones, the level 9s and 10s, and I think there's like some 11s or 12s there. The fouls at New Treasure Island, they're at a higher maturity. And when I was hunting them, I swear, like the loot was more, obviously, and I was getting more because I was spending more, obviously. But, well, number one, for efficiency, I mean, I was almost playing at, or pretty much playing at my level. So that was one mistake there. So that could have something to do with it. But even trying to do some research, which I don't really go by the wiki a whole lot just because the wiki gets outdated pretty often and then it doesn't get updated. So it's really hard to tell from the wiki. Um, so it could just be my skills and my efficiency kind of playing a huge role with that too. But I've noticed like the higher maturity like fouls don't drop nearly as much of the decent markup loot as the littler guys. But again, my skills could be playing a factor with that. That's the thing I love about this area and these mobs too, but at the same time can be kind of annoying. Is I like that they respawn really quickly, but at the same time that can kind of cause some issues for you, like I am now, because there's a bunch of them attacking me now. But we'll be able to handle it. We just got to get our health back up. But yeah, like if you want to just like trample down mobs and you have the ability to do it, coming here and taking out all these fouls, since there's so many of them, it's just like so worth it. Even though sometimes this will happen. But if we can backpedal and not backpedal into more mobs, then we'll be good. Oh wow. One of them got a crit. I always had a theory about crits too and mobs, even though it's not 100% sound. But sometimes it seems like it. A lot of times, and it's probably because of like decay, because you do get some of the decay back potentially, um, just from, just having a hit. But I always had a theory that if I got crit, then the mob at least should, in theory, drop more for me to loot, since it's like wrecking me. But I have a feeling that probably won't happen. But yeah, they're all starting to respawn now, so we're gonna have to basically start back at the beginning now. But it's good that they respawn quick. That way multiple people can hunt here, kind of like what we're doing. And it's not that big a deal. So we're already almost through 1,000 ammo. And it's been about 20 minutes into this massive run. Nice. There we go. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure which one was actually critting me, but out of all of those, I got a, that was almost 6 ped right there. I kind of wish it was, like the Shrap, the initial 5 ped and Shrap, and then like a 20 peck of like tier 2 components or something. Even the paint cans, anything, that would have been nice. See, and I have a theory about that double Shrap too that I think I've talked about in another video too, where basically it means you should have gotten something else, but your looting skills aren't quite there, so you're just gonna get double Shrap. That's kind of my goal, is to see if I can slowly grind up my levels, mainly my looter levels, so that like for mobs like this, I can maybe stop getting double Shrap. Because ultimately, in theory, or at least the way I look at it, I feel like you want to be getting the least amount of Shrap possible and the most amount of markup. But the only downside with that is that depending on what your return is based on markup and the amount of the actual looted items. The only problem is that you would then have to sell more on auction and hope to get back most of it from there. But that's the really only downside with getting that is that you might not be able to cycle as much. I guess it depends. It really depends on the profits, but it would take longer to cycle overall because then you would have to sell on auction, someone would have to buy it, and then you can kind of um, start the cycling process again. So that's really the only downside with that is that it would take longer to cycle PED. But in the long term, that would probably be the better way, just because at that point you might be slowly growing a little bit from making profit from markup. And then from there, being able to cycle in the long term more, just less frequently, I guess. So that's really the only downside with that. But ultimately, that's where I would like to get to. Like, if I was going to get, let's say, a 50 peck loot, like my ideal scenario is like 30 something peck in, let's say, tier 2 components or the paint cans or something with decent markup, and then like, you know, or even 40 peck, and then maybe like 10 or 20 peck of the shrapnel. But that's just me. What do you guys think? What would your like ideal kind of loot um consistency be, I guess? Would it be more shrapnel, more high markup, um, and the reasonings? And now we can do our codex for the fouls. Now, we need, what do we need? I think we definitely need dexterity. We need more athletics. I think we're gonna have to go either dexterity or athletics. Honestly, either way, it's pretty much the same. But that's what we really need the most of right now. Um, we're gonna go dexterity because it's harder for me to get dexterity. And then on the next one, if we have the option to do athletics, we're gonna do athletics because we need more athletics and dexterity so that our evade can go up. So, but since it's really hard for me to get dexterity naturally, I think getting that first and then going for um, athletics after, and then that'll really help our evade skills, or at least help our evade skills a little bit more. And that's kind of the nice thing about tree cutting too, and getting resource gathering skill, which I never mentioned in any of those videos, but I should have. You also get a lot of athletics and dexterity skill from resource gathering. So not only are you getting a bunch of resource gathering skills by cutting down trees, but you're also getting your athletics, your dexterity up, which is overall bringing up your evade a little bit too. And you don't even got to die to do it. So like, or get hit a bunch by mobs to do it even. Like if you were 50 and doing the same kind of thing with like maybe level 20 mobs with like level 20 gear or something, it could be similar results, but more at once and more spend. But, I feel like this is like the way Entropia is meant to be grinded, though. You know what I mean? Slow and steady versus like massive gains or massive amounts of skills at once. Because like it all adds up overall. Kind of like how the small losses overall can add up to an overall loss for you and a gain for Mind Arc. It's kind of the same thing with skills and even, gaining PED and stuff. I feel like the slow and steady game might be a little more effective. And also subscribe to, just in case of that as well. And we got other games coming out on the channel really soon, so another reason to subscribe as well. And drop a like on this video because this video is going to take me forever to record, a good amount of time to edit, Um, and we're kind of just, I mean, this is an experiment I was going to do regardless, but I was like, you know what, I might as well make a video on it and kind of show it, um, just because I thought it'd be kind of fun, and it might be something that you guys would be interested in seeing, um, and because it could be beneficial running through like 10,000 or 100,000 mobs, versus like a couple hundred. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about skills, I guess, now that I'm talking about like different skills. One of my goals when it comes to setting up my skills, now there's a lot of theories on this, and who knows which is the right way to do it or a good way to do it, but I like having things balanced, whether it's skills or the loot I'm getting. I like things to feel balanced. And even when I feel like I'm getting imbalanced loot, like too much Shrap or something like that, um, not a huge fan of it. So I try to be as balanced as I can with my skills, meaning my overall goal is that I want my skills for the most part to be as close together as possible. Like my surveyor and prospectors, pretty much they're both almost at 22, and other skills like that. And my idea is I kind of want to keep my skills as close together as I can. They don't have to be like the exact same level or skill points, but like within 2 levels or 2 ranks, I would say would be ideal. So if I have agility and dexterity, and if they're almost at the same skill points or the same amount of skill points, or off by a few hundred skill points, I look at that as pretty balanced. So that's what I usually try to go for, and that's kind of what I think about when I'm trying to build up my skills and choosing what skills I want to increase at what time. Because I have a theory that if I overskill one specific like skill, like let's say athletics or dexterity or just evader, I feel like that's going to throw my entire skills and everything else I have kind of out of whack and out of balance. Now, maybe not so much evade, and I can't really see that doing it a whole lot just because that's really just, you know, you might not get as much, and you might see a loot difference because you're not getting as much decay, which that would make sense. But overall, I just try to keep things balanced, and I feel like it's easier to kind of keep track of doing it that way. That way you don't have some skills at level 30 and some skills at level 10. And especially when it comes to animal looter, I really got to get that up. All my looting skills have to go way, way up. Or I wouldn't say way, way up, but I need them to go at least like 4 more levels up, I would say, as far as looting profession goes. Because we're not quite yet in our looting profession, both animal looter, resource gatherer, all that. I'm still not even quite close to where I want to be with both of those. So that's another thing we still got to grind and get up. But I'm hoping we can get some decent looting skill this run, as well as skills just in general, even though it'll be a slow grind. Honestly, for a big grind like this too, I should have done this. I didn't think about it. Um, but if you're doing a big grind like this, I highly recommend coming out with quite a few skill pills. Ideally the 50% boosters, but if you got the 10% boosters, that's fine too. Um, but yeah, I just completely forgot. I meant to bring out some skill pills because I wanted to try to get as much skills as I could too. But at the same time, if you're getting a bunch of skills and you're boosting skills like that, here's my theory on like skill pills and boosting skills. I feel like since you're getting more skills out of it by boosting with like skill pills and stuff, I feel like your loot would be smaller or less. And the few times I have used them, it almost kind of seemed that way in comparison to like other runs I've done doing the exact same thing. And with this run, and with this video too, and this run, that might have not been the most ideal just because I'm trying to get the most out of it and like the most high markup stuff out of it, and ideally the most twin tokens I can possibly get too. So that might have not been as ideal if that is true when it comes to skill pills, which I feel like it kind of should be because at that point I feel like that could be one way to basically make constant profit is just using skill pills, getting what 50% of the skills, and if you're still getting the same amount of loot, I feel like that's a profitable strategy right there. Whether you're selling off the skills or not, either way, I feel like you're going to make out a lot better if that is the case. But I have a feeling based on what I've seen that boosting your skills kind of reduces your mob returns a little bit. Alright guys, so it's been about 5 hours into this run, and we have barely made a dent in the 600 ped ammo and the 20,000 shots. So we've spent roughly about 215 to 220 ped. Now here's what I find interesting. As we've been going, we've actually been losing a little more. So we're at about 200, I think 215 actually is our spend right now. So 183, so 15, and then the 83, so 17. So yeah, we're down like 30 ped right now out of 215 spent. And as far as the markup goes, we're looking pretty close to what we already had for the most part. It's just a bunch more Shrap and a bunch more eye oil. So, as we're going so far, we're losing more and more, which I find is interesting. But that's what I pretty much expected overall. Now, as we keep going, who knows? Maybe maybe it'll start to even out more again. I mean, obviously, we're going to be down more and more as we go higher and higher in spend as well, obviously. So that's to be expected anyway. But I have a feeling our TT value is going to go down, and if our markup value doesn't start going up, then yeah, we're going to be seeing some decent losses over the long term cycling. That's 100%. And then most of it is in here. So 100 and about 64 PED is just in these two items. And then the rest of it is somewhat decent markup. But that's where the cycling comes in. Now, I'm going to end it here for part one. Now, I don't even think it's going to be a part system, honestly. I'm thinking this is going to be a long series, like a long weekly series, I think. We'll run maybe 4 to 6 hours per week doing this. We'll make one video per week, and we'll kind of make this a series because I think it's going to take days to go through this. I mean, we've been recording for 5 hours and 11 minutes without taking many, if any, breaks, and we've gone through 200 ped in 5 hours. Like I'm telling you, 150 ped, easily 3 hours. Easily 3 hours with that. 200 ped, easily 5 hours. So far as this kind of run is going, this major weekly run hunting that we're doing, so far we're down about 30 ped. But with the skills we've been getting, honestly, we're probably easily broken even as far as skilling goes. And if our efficiency goes up, then that's also good as well. So I'm not really sure what I want to call this series yet, but the only way we're going to be able to do this is if it's just a weekly long running series, because this is going to take a while. This is going to take a while. Like, I could probably keep going for another 12 hours and probably, if I'm lucky, get to the point where I'm going to convert the shrapnel that I get in total back into ammo. So this might have to be, see, I figured in 12 hours we could maybe bleed through most of that ped. And now at almost 6 hours, we're not even close to running through the initial ammo. So that's pretty interesting. So it's good to know that for anyone out here liking to call Entropia a scam, at least you get a good amount of playtime out of what you're spending, depending on what you're doing. So guys, that's the end of episode 1. Overall, we're down about 30 ped just in items, but with skills, probably close to break even, and with decay, we're still only probably down a bit, but nothing crazy. But as we keep progressing through this, I'm curious to see what we can get out of this entire um, 700 ped. So I'm gonna end it here. We're probably gonna do another grind very shortly of this, and I'm gonna try to just keep grinding this, and we'll see what kind of overall data throughout the next few weeks plus will get us. So anyway, guys, that's the video. This was a really long video for me, but for you, it's just another video. So anyway, guys, that's the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Alright guys, post-edit obbldude here. So after recording the first session of about 5 hours, I was like, you know what? I don't want to wait another week. And honestly, I'm probably gonna try to get this series done as fast as I can, just because I have a reason for it, and I want to run through all this as much as I can. So I think every day now we're going to do a decent sized session and we're going to record all of it. Because I can't do one video a week doing this just because I want to see how much stuff we can collect, especially the twin tokens, and I don't know how long that's going to be going on for. So I want to try to knock this out. But I was off camera doing some stuff, doing some hunting, trying to get through some of this ammo, expecting nothing really crazy at all to happen. And it's not like uber crazy, but it's like the best hit I've ever gotten from these fouls to date. So I wanted to add this post edit on the first episode of the 700 ped challenge because we got something real good, guys. Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to make up for all of our loss so far, which at the end, before when we stopped, you noticed we were down about 30 ped in total. Well, we ran through some more stuff as you can see here. We got about 12 ped there. We got some more stuff. We depoted what we got before because we pretty much had that on camera anyway. But we looted from one of those fouls a restoration chip 1. This is almost 500% markup. At full 4.5 PED TT, I mean, this is easily 16 PED probably on auction. At least 16, maybe 17. So, like I said, that doesn't completely get us out, but now instead of being down 30, we're down like 20 to 15 roughly. I'd say 20 just through some of the PED that we just ran through, but from here on out, we're just going to record all of it because you never know when something like that'll happen. I did not expect that those fouls even dropped those chips. So that's kind of wild. So yeah, we're just going to end up recording everything because you never know when something good like that'll happen. But that was wild though. I wish I had that recorded. But this restoration chip we just looted. And we're going to record everything because this is what I didn't want to happen. To, it's like we're recording everything though. So every day now we're going to be doing a session until we end up getting through all this. So it's probably not going to be weekly. It might be a couple times a week. We might be dropping this just to get it out, get it recorded, and then all that, and then we'll get some other videos going at the same time. But I wanted to make this other post because I did not think, like, I thought the tier 2 components was the best thing I could get from them. I mean, that's insane that we just looted that. I wish I could show more proof that I actually did, because it wasn't being recorded. And the minute I looted it, I was like, well, time to open OBS up again. So yeah, we're just gonna run through this PED probably over the next 7, 10 days, however long it takes. But we're gonna be doing, a few hours every day at least. Like this run I was just doing, I was only doing for 30 minutes and we got that restoration chip, which is insane. Um, so yeah, we're gonna just keep it going. I thought maybe, since a lot didn't happen in my last session, maybe it would be worth doing an hour or two off camera, but no, we're not doing that. We're going to do all of it because that was a really good hit and that brought our losses up by half. So, I mean, instead of being down 30 now, we're down probably like 15 to 20, probably closer to 20. So, that was really good. I'm pumped on that. So anyway, guys, yeah, I just wanted to add that to the video as well.